Welcome to the Tri-County Report. I'm Paul Roberts from WEEU, joined once again by Dennis Weller from the Reading Eagle.
Hello, Paul.
And Dennis, I'm sure a lot of people were wondering how Pottsgrove was going to look after that 2-touchdown loss to Methacton. Did you expect them to beat Springford?
Not necessarily, but it didn't really surprise me either because Pottsgrove's Pottsgrove, and I think coaches thought they needed to come out with more intensity, get fired up, and that's what they did. And even though Springford scored very early in the game, that did not deter them, and they just kept on coming back and finally pulled it out.
It seemed like a great game to cover. 4 touchdowns of more than 50 yards. What was that like for you?
Right, I think once Springford scored and then Pottsgrove came back with a 70-yard touchdown pass immediately, and it was just wild. End to end, it never ended, and even at the end, Pottsgrove was back all the way up in its own territory, with an 8-point lead. They took a safety, and then with a few seconds left, they had a kickoff, and Springford tried one of those plays that you see on TV where it takes 3 minutes and 29 people touched the ball, but it didn't work too well, so Pottsgrove won. But it was a great game, yes.
And Devin Fink and Michael Fowler for Pottsgrove both had big games. Is there a better running back, wide receiver combination in the Pac-10 this season?
Probably not, and the quarterback, Verdone, had a great passing day, 244 yards. Seems like Pottsgrove's going more and more to the passing this year after years and years of just running. But then late in the game, they did control the ball for over 8 minutes, mostly on the ground, when they really needed to do that, and showed that they could do that also.
Well, we had that great matchup last week. Now we look ahead, and I'm going to run down some of the games this week. Pottsgrove at Owen J. Roberts, Perk Valley at Phoenixville, Springford hosts Upper Perk, Methacton's home against Pope John Paul. Fair to say we might see some lopsided results this week?
I don't think there's much of a chance for any upsets. I think this year is kind of boiled down to you got the top 4 teams and the bottom 6 teams, although people like Boyertown would probably say, well, they don't belong in the bottom 6. But whenever there's a matchup like that, it's probably going to be a one-sided score. So there's probably going to be 4 of them this week, I would guess.
The other game is Saturday afternoon, Boyertown at Pottstown, which can be heard on WEEU. Both of these teams are 2-3. What should we expect here?
It's kind of hard to tell because neither has scored all that much this year, but the last 3 years they haven't really been outrageous offensive teams. But the last 3 years the scores have been 34-27. I thought I remembered these scores, but I don't. 52-49 and 49-35 the last 3 years, I think. So it's kind of hard to tell what's going to happen. And, Pottstown, as far as you add up their points for and against, it's only 32 per game. So they're the lowest scoring team in the league, and Boyertown hasn't scored that much. But you look at the last 3 years, it must just be some Boyertown versus Pottstown thing. They just start going wild.
And that was going to be my next question. It seems like whichever team, Boyertown or Pottstown, finds some offense on Saturday, they're going to win the game.
I would think that would be a good assessment, yes.
Because defensively, they seem to be hanging in there.
Right. Pottstown has shown some really good defense at times, as has Boyertown, you're right.
We're only halfway through the season, but I keep looking at the schedule. October 24th, Perk Valley at Pottsgrove. Fair to say, or am I jumping the gun, that the league championship comes down to that game?
That could very well be, but Methacton only has 1 loss. I think they're playing Springford next week. So that's the other one of the 2 remaining really big games.
And Springford already has 2 losses in league
so
play.
Pottsgrove beats Perk Valley, Methacton beats Springford. We could end up with a 3-way tie or some other combination. But Pottsgrove versus Perk Valley should be a very good game, yes.
And what will you be covering this week?
I'll be covering Perk Valley at Phoenixville on Thursday night, Upper Perk at Springford on Friday night, and the big Boyertown at Pottstown game on Saturday.
Wow, the trifecta for you, Dennis. Well, get some sleep now.
Too bad there's no games on Sunday, but at least not high school.
Well, thanks for your time,
Okay,
and we'll see you
welcome.
Saturday at Pottstown.
Okay.
This has been the Tri-County Report for Dennis Weller. I'm Paul Roberts from WEEU, and we'll see you next week.